My name is Usman Saeed. I'm one of the consultant ophthalmologists at the Royal Liverpool University Hospital, and I'm here to talk about the structure of the eye. The eye is made up of many cells, many cells than you can think of, and very different types of cells which produce and do different types of work depending on the structure and function. Here I've got a model of the eye which I'll be showing you, and we're working through this from the front of the eye to the back of the eye. Now if you have a look on the outside, there are some structures on the outside over here, and these are muscles which move the eye upwards over here, to the right, to the left, downwards, and obliquely as well. And these are called extraocular muscles. An imbalance of these muscles can cause a squint, which is fairly common in some children and people as well. Now, if we have a look at this white of the eye, which common people call the white of the eye, it's actually called the sclera, and it's a shell which makes sure that the eye remains round and the structures of the eye remain in shape. After that, we've got this bit, which is a transparent window called the cornea, and because it's transparent, it allows light to pass through into the eye so that we can see. If this transparent window becomes opaque, people can get something called corneal opacities or corneal scarring, and the corneal scarring will impede light getting into the eye and therefore will interfere in vision. In cases where the corneal opacity is bad enough, we can sometimes do an operation called a corneal transplant to restore sight. Further inside the eye, inside the window, is some fluid called aqueous humor, and when we look inside, you can see over here the coloured part of the eye called iris. This iris is like a diaphragm which opens and closes, and we'll show you a small clip of Kate Hagen's iris, which reacts to light. This coloured structure over here is called the iris. The iris is like a diaphragm which allows light to go into the eye and will react according to the circumstances of light. If there's a lot of light around, the pupils will constrict. If there's not so much light around, the pupils will dilate. If we take this shell away, you can see a brownish area which has a lot of blood vessels going through this. And this is called the choroid. And the choroid is basically one of the organs which is responsible for transmission of blood and nutrients to the inside of the eye. If we take this choroid off, you can see the structure of the inside of the eye as well. Behind this iris is a lens. Now, this lens is responsible for focusing light to the back of the eye. Any abnormality in the lens will usually cause a cataract. And the most common problem why people have blurred vision is a cataract. And a cataract is basically an opaque lens inside the eye, which happens with aging changes in most scenarios. There are other scenarios where you can have lens changes and they can be hereditary, or they can be caused by other problems like trauma. However, a cataract is basically a lens in the eye that starts going opaque, and this can be removed with an operation called cataract surgery. And what we do is essentially we remove this lens from the inside of the eye and put a new artificial lens inside the eye. And that's the cataract done. behind the cataract, behind the lens of the eye, is a jelly, and this is called the vitreous of the eye. And the jelly basically keeps the form of the eye as a round structure. So what this jelly is doing is keeping the structure of the eye fairly round. As people grow older, there are changes in this jelly of the eye which can cause floaters in the eye, and the floaters can cause a sensation of cobwebs in the line of vision, or like a fly in the line of vision, which can sometimes move around. These cobwebs or these floaters can be annoying, and in some instances can cause a lot of distress, but in most cases they will be innocuous and they will not cause any significant problems. Now, if we focus closer to the back of the eye, if we remove this jelly over here, you can see some other structures at the back of the eye. Now, these are blood vessels going through to the back of the eye, and these are called the retinal artery and retinal veins. This structure over here, which is painted orange, shows the retina. And the retina is basically the photographic plate at the back of the eye. And if I show you this structure over here, this is the other part of it, and it's all around, and this is basically the photographic structure at the back of the eye, which produces the impulses and transmits it through to the brain. These images, which are produced at the retina, then travel through the optic nerve. We can see it over here, and this optic nerve goes through small holes in the skull through to the brain and goes to. This is the retina at the back of the eye. The retina is a photographic plate at the back of the eye. It's an incredibly complex structure which produces impulses. Now, these impulses transfer to the back of the eye, to the back of the brain, by structures called neurons. And this structure over here is a bunch of neurons called optic nerve. Basically, this is wiring which transmits the images from the eye to the brain. And at the brain is the part where we interpret those images and therefore we see.